Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. So, Channel Fireball and the big giant ball of incest that we all know and love between all these companies that eventually got in bed together. And it looks like it may be kind of getting split up a little bit finally. Mason over at Cardinal Gaming did a really good video about this like 3 weeks ago. I'll put a link down somewhere here. And he kind of went into a little bit of the history of it, but the short version is you had a card store called Channel Fireball about 10, 12 years ago or so, and they hosted events, and eventually they would become a distributor for WotC and then other games too over time. And they would eventually open their own Channel Fireball online marketplace to compete with TCG Player. And they would at some point buy out a company called Binder POS. And now Binder POS is a service that allows you to put your TCG inventory into their database, and it uses Salesforce on the back end to basically list your inventory across multiple different websites at once so that you can have all your inventory listed on different marketplaces at the same time. But then when something sells on one place, it immediately gets taken down off the other places. So it's very useful if you're in the business. And then eventually, sometime about, it was earlier this year, I think, TCG Player bought Channel Fireball, essentially to get rid of the Channel Fireball marketplace. That was probably the number one reason why they wanted to buy it. Then later on this year, eBay bought TCG Player. So now you had eBay, TCG Player, Channel Fireball, the Channel Fireball marketplace, the Channel Fireball distributor, and Binder POS, and potentially, if it actually still exists, the Channel Fireball card stores, all as one single company. And then Channel Fireball had an eBay store that was called CardShopLive. And so essentially, like, Channel Fireball was buying product directly from WotC, functioning as a distributor to the rest of the industry. Like, if you were a small card store, you could have bought from them. But then they were also selling at the retail level directly. So you can imagine, today, if a small card store goes out, they're going to pay, let's just pick on like standard collector boxes because they're in such a crappy situation in the market right now. If you're a small card store with not much pricing power, you're going to go to a distributor, you're going to pay around $190 for a standard collector box. And then you're going to come on to TCG Player or eBay, and you're going to need to sell it for about $223 in order to pay market fees, pay real shipping, put it in your customer's hand, and break even. So $223. Now, what if you are CardShopLive? Well, essentially, you've bought the product not at distribution. You are a distributor. You've bought it directly from WotC. I have no idea what the price is. I've never even heard speculation on that. But it's going to be a lot less than $190. And then you sell it up on TCG Player, which again is you. And so you essentially pay no market fees. Now, you may pay the fee, but there's another side of your business house that is collecting that fee. And so in the accounting sense, it's a wash and you're even on it. So you're not actually paying a fee. So you can see how people didn't like this. And I know some people will just be like, oh, well, it's just capitalism, bro. They're just building a business. And I'll agree to an extent. I mean, if I'm in a business and I think I can kind of like take a monopolistic position over a lot of the industry, yeah, I'm going to try to do it. Like, someone's going to have to force me to not do that. So I can't really fault them. And then it doesn't really seem that like they acted with bad faith at any point. All of this is kind of a consequence of all of these buyouts over time and the merging of all these companies. Arguably, the only one that we could argue was in bad faith was Channel Fireball becoming a distributor and then still operating a retail arm. That's really disingenuous to the card stores that would then use Channel Fireball as one of their distributors. So Mason did a video over all of this, and it was real interesting, and he kind of went into some of the real perverse things that happen as a consequence of this. If you're a card store and you use Binder POS as a service, to track your inventory and list it up on multiple sales channels, then you essentially have Card Shop Live looking into your inventory, seeing what inventory do you have? What do you price it at? How do you try to sell it? So they're basically like gathering intelligence on your business that no one else would have. That's kind of got an ethical problem to it, that your competitor is taking that intelligence and probably misusing it. You know, in most types of business in the US, at least, where corruption is pretty low, you try to do things to not create those conflicts of interest. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit, but then take a look at some of these things, because it looks like some of this might be kind of unraveling. And really the only way that I see this whole situation getting undone and fixed is WotC would have to step in, or Pokemon USA or LSS. They would have to step in and say, look, we need a healthy distribution network. You know, these card games, they absolutely have to have local game stores. This entire industry and these games themselves will cease to exist if we lose local game stores, because new players are introduced to these games primarily through local game stores. The main place that a lot of people play these games is at their local game stores. And so the industry and the games themselves will not survive at the kitchen table. They can limp along and they can get a small boost from it, but fundamentally you have to have card stores. And so WotC and LSS and Pokemon USA and the rest of the companies making the games should be the ones who come in and say, look, this just doesn't work, because you're undercutting the very game stores that you're selling to as a distributor when you are on the primary two marketplaces. In fact, you own and are the primary two marketplaces. And then you're also buying directly from the manufacturer. And so essentially it gives them the most pricing power, but with that power comes the ability to destroy local game stores and, in the long run, destroy the games themselves and the industry. And so that's where the pressure to fix this problem should come from. So I just wanted to show you some interesting things here. So I know I've made you stare at this Channel Fireball homepage for a long time, but if we come down to the bottom, it lists store information, 1000 Stephanie Place, Unit 14, Henderson, Nevada. So if we come over to that, we get this. Now, this is really interesting. You know, if you or I wanted to start a local card store, one of the things that distributors like Channel Fireball require is that you have a big prominent sign on your building showing your store name. Well, there's nothing like that here. This is a photo from April of 2022, and I've gone back in time. I've looked at this. In fact, I might just show you. So January of 21, this still had the Bounce U, which was a children's party place where they have like bounce houses and slides and they host birthdays and stuff. So it was that as recently as January of 21, but now it is the Channel Fireball store or location. What exactly did they call it here? Store information. So, you know, I guess this is their brick and mortar card store, except it certainly doesn't look that way. And they don't have the kind of signage on the outside that distributors require local game stores to comply with. So next, if we come over to Card Shop Live, now remember, Card Shop Live more recently was the retail arm of Channel Fireball. And in fact, on eBay, Card Shop Live was the dealer account name that Channel Fireball used. And so if we come over to their website and we click on Contact Us and we come down here, it says mailing address, and it's that same mailing address, 1000 Stephanie Place, Suite 14, Henderson, Nevada. So it's the same place. So Card Shop Live, which again acts as the retail arm, it pretends to be the local game store part of the Channel Fireball business, is physically at the same place. This place that doesn't comply with distributors' own rules about signage for card stores. So is this really a card store? Has anyone in Henderson, Nevada been inside this building? I'd love to know. It's interesting because if you scroll around on Google Earth, on Street View here to the rest of this strip center, it's all like, it's that kind of mixed commercial industrial, like you might have a lot of auto mechanics or say companies that install stereos in cars, or maybe companies that cut countertops and then install them. And so, you're doing some kind of industrial work in the same area that you run the rest of your business. That's the kind of office park that this is. So, has anyone been inside of this building? I'd be interested to know that. So, but it's the same building listed for Card Shop Live. Now, here's an interesting thing. This is another address I was able to find. It's the Channel Fireball Game Center. It's located at 1171 Homestead Road, number 170, Santa Clara, California. That's interesting. That's nowhere near Henderson, Nevada, relatively. But if we click on this and we come into photos, so if we look at it from outside, Channel Fireball Game Center, daily Magic tournaments, yes. Board game demos, buy, sell, trade, all these games. But if we look at the only other picture available, it's literally one picture of empty tables, the crappiest metal folding chairs you can buy, and a concrete floor, some almost pictures on the wall, at least it's Soul Ring, an iconic card. But, this is pretty interesting because these are the only two photos that Google has of this. And I know when I look at card stores that are actually local to me, that have been in business for any amount of time, they literally have hundreds of photos on Google here. And so it's the crawled photos from people just taking them on their phones, storing them in their Google account, and then they get aggregated up onto here over time. But it's hundreds of photos going back long periods of time. And so what is this? Is this a real place? Again, has anyone been to this place? Has anyone been inside? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to start a conspiracy, but it's just does this place really exist? Could you walk into this place today as a card store and sit down and play a game? Is it open to the public? Because remember, to have access to the distribution network, to wholesale prices from a distributor, you have to have a game space to support the community. And of course, what I love over here, the review summary, 8 5-star reviews, and man, do they look like fake reviews. But, and then the next thing is Channel Fireball. I said earlier that Channel Fireball used to operate its own online marketplace in competition with TCG Player before TCG Player bought it. It appears that's gone. If you come up here to the top of the page now and you click Marketplace, it takes you to TCG Player, because really, Channel Fireball Marketplace it never had as many buyers or sellers on it, and it was struggling to compete with TCG Player, and then TCG Player put it out of its misery. So the next interesting thing is Card Shop Live, the eBay store, is empty. And so this is one of, I think, 4 big eBay dealers that I just keep a tab open for, that I look at every day just to kind of monitor prices. And 5 or 6 days ago, when I refreshed that tab, I noticed 0 results. And now that does happen occasionally as an eBay software screw up, and it'll usually be fixed within a couple minutes. But this is now 5-6 days later. I've just put off making this video, and there's still no items listed for sale here. So that's interesting. What does it mean? Why would they stop selling on eBay? Again, remember, eBay owns TCG Player, which owns Channel Fireball, which owns Card Shop Live. So literally, eBay owns the store. Maybe somebody within eBay said, hey, we probably shouldn't be undercutting all the rest of the people trying to sell on our platform. It's kind of unhealthy, like I've explained, for the long-term viability of the market and the industry and everything else. I don't know if that's exactly the reason, but if we come over here to TCG Player and you look at Card Shop Live's account, they're still loaded up with product. So they still have tons of things for sale. There's just a small sampling here, but what does it all mean? Does it mean that it's finally being kind of split up and resolved, where they no longer have this conflict of interest that is detrimental to the whole industry and the ecosystem? I don't know. Does it just mean that maybe eBay decided we shouldn't be selling directly at retail on our own eBay platform? And so that's why the Card Shop Live eBay store is now empty, but the TCG Player Card Shop Live store still seems to be operating. I don't know. Did they finally get enough attention from maybe someone like WotC or Pokemon USA or LSS, and enough pressure that said, you really shouldn't be doing this because it screws us in the long term? So I don't know what to make of it. Do any of you guys have any other insights that I don't know? Any more up-to-date information, anything that's actually been said about this from any of these companies? I'd be interested to know. Let me know if you have any of that, or if there's any big thing in here that I'm missing. I would love to kind of, really what you would hope kind of cynically is that they would spin off these companies, because they are real companies, right? I mean, it's not just a sham pretending that you have a retail store so that you can sell retail on your own marketplace, right? So if you wanted to break this up, you obviously have some kind of valuable business to spin off, right? It's not all just a sham. You know, we do think it is a sham, by the way. But ideally, they would spin off Card Shop Live as the retail arm. They would find someone who wanted to buy the game centers and the actual physical card stores they should have, complete with the signage, right? And then they would spin off Channel Fireball as the distributor to someone who wants to buy a distributor. I don't know. That seems like a weird thing. I don't know that there's really, maybe you could find like a distributor that works in toys or something that would want to buy Channel Fireball and get into games, since those work together pretty well. But and then you would just continue to operate as eBay and TCG Player. You would retain the Channel Fireball name for like the blogs and the website and the news and things like that. But, you know, ideally you would spin off these companies to eliminate those conflicts of interest and to keep the industry and the market more healthy in the long term. Or you could just enjoy your monopoly while you burn all of it to the ground in the medium term. I don't know. Take your choice. So let me know what you think, guys. Otherwise, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot.